Oh, I already got it in there. Don't you worry, sweetheart. Chris will take care of you.
It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate, oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
And this week we're watching the first WandaVision trailer.
Yes, we had to wait 7 days to talk about
Moments after we stopped recording, it released. So we're back a week later to talk about it. Marvel has moved some of its Phase 4 release dates around, Mike.
Pikachu shocked face.
Yeah, I need to get a calendar that has like Velcro. So I can just move these things at ease. I'm tired of writing things out.
That should just be like the 2020 calendar. Like just every picture on it should just be somebody's like horrified look on their face. Mm-hmm. Pikachu face could be one of them too.
Yeah, was that painting the Scream painting? Just that's the rest of it. Just slowly evolving. Justice League is getting some limited reshoots next month and more.
There it is, the limited reshoots. Giving Zack Snyder more money.
Mm-hmm. He says he's not getting paid for this. I bet he gets paid somewhere down the road. So
he's rich. He doesn't have to worry about money anymore.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he still likes to get it.
Yeah, I mean, who wouldn't, right? Who wouldn't? So I just realized when we started the show, I'm just overwhelmingly tired all of a sudden. I've been up working this morning, actually at work, to come in to record this, and there's like this sudden transformation of my voice from like, oh, I'm so tired to hello and welcome to the show. I'm like, damn, I got a radio voice.
It's the unintended consequences of recording a show on a Sunday. We're completely at the whim of what has ever happened over the weekend, and all I've been doing is really just sitting on my butt. I don't know if the fires have gotten much better out here on the West Coast, but at least the wind patterns have shifted to slightly benefit us on our side of town. We were finally able to go out to the park yesterday under moderate air quality conditions, I believe is what it was rated at in my weather app. So I was happy I got to go outside at least once in like the last 2 weeks. So things are looking up over here for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's good. We had some overcast yesterday, but it ended up being a very wonderful like 70s, low 70s out yesterday. So I was able to get outside. I got a little bit of sunburn on my forehead sitting outside.
Classic Chris style.
Yeah, my nose and my forehead very, very large. But on the other side, I'm gonna flip into this. The other thing I've done this week is sit on my butt and play video games because it's easier to do that when you got to stay inside and stay away from people. And one of the cool things I got to do this week, we were able to secure a reservation of the new Xbox Series X in this household.
Yeah, congratulations. So you did not have to wake up super early and wait in a line old school style. Yeah, you opted for a digital method, right?
I thought about it, but like a lot of GameStops and stores, like physical stores, only got like small allocations. My local GameStop, they said they had 7, and I'm like, how early do I need to go to be more than 7th in line? So I decided to just do it online, and we were able to knock on wood, but something changes, secure one through Target, if you will. A lot of other people didn't, so hopefully they can get some more later, something like that. So cross fingers. But that wasn't the only Xbox news this week. I think it was like the day before these pre-orders went live. They announced that they acquired Zenimax. Now, if I told you before you read these notes, Mike, hey, do you know what Zenimax does? Would you have been able to tell me?
No, I would guess it kind of sounds like a bootleg Chinese company that makes like USB chargers or something like that.
Right. Yeah, like an old Beta. It's the company that still makes Betamaxes 30 years later. Zenimax is actually the parent company of some game studios that you may know, such as ID Software, maybe Bethesda Game Studios, if you will. And more, and what games you know them for is the Elder Scrolls series, Doom, Fallout, Wolfenstein, Quake. Like, these people have been making video games for as long as video games have been around, pretty much. And Xbox was able to they bought the company, and they are now part of the Xbox brand. Now, what does this mean for the future of these things? I don't think much. I think Xbox is smart enough to be like, look, we're gonna get if we own this company and you still make them for PlayStation, we're still gonna get a piece of that pie at the end of the day. Like they're not gonna cut off PlayStation people, but I think this is a cool draw because we've talked about this a little bit that I use Xbox Game Pass to cover my live subscription, and they give me the ability to stream these games remotely or add them to my library without extra charge every month. So
yeah, I think that's probably the big strategy here is if you think like really long term for the video game space, it seems like at some point in time, I don't know when it'll happen, when the internet and pings will catch up, but soon consoles will just be a thing of the past. Your grandchildren, great grandchildren will just be like, wait, you had to buy a piece of hardware to play video games? Like we just stream it all through the internet now. So once you literally do not need the Xbox anymore and it's just a brand name that's a streaming service, I mean, they're going to need to own this IP and this software to have this exclusive thing that you can only play if you subscribe to their service. So, yeah, I think it's more of like a long-term strategy, but that's cool. I mean, Bethesda, it seems like they're going to get a big old injection of cash that will maybe... I'd like to see a resurgence of Quake. I remember playing that back in the day. It's like the fastest-paced shooter that I think has ever existed. Like, you're all like... When I watch like gameplay, like high-level gameplay of Quake, it's just people always jumping. They're only ever touching the ground for like a fraction of a second, kind of like how a horse runs in slow motion. They're like barely ever touching the ground, really. It's just like there's people just going all over the place. There's like lightning blasts and like energy like balls flying all over. It's insane.
Well, I always think of that Unreal when I think of old PC multiplayer games. Like that's the stuff like, you know, now it's Call of Duty and Fortnite and Apex Legends, but back then it was you were playing Unreal or you were playing Quake, and those were the two games you were shooting your friends in. And they were kind of wild stylistic stuff. I mean, I remember, again, going back to ID Software, Doom, like running Doom on everything. And like even they evolved it later. What was it? Chex Quest is where they just reskinned Doom and threw it in your cereal boxes, which was pretty cool. And they their newest one, Doom Eternal, came out, and people are really, really digging it as well. So I think there's some opportunities here, but I want to see. I'm not a Skyrim person, right? I missed Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim, but I played the hell out of 4, which was no, not Morrowind. It was the one after that. Whatever 4 was. Someone's yelling at me through the other end of the podcast. But I want to see what they do with an Elder Scrolls 6, Mike. Like how many times can you remake one game across generations and release it? Crysis is trying to do it, and what was it? They always say, can it run Doom is the other thing, so Doom as well. So I'm hoping they give us like an Elder Scrolls 6 reveal sooner than later, if you will, and something that we can probably... I don't want to just play on Xbox. I don't want people to miss out on stuff. I don't want these to be exclusives. I don't think one console is better than the other. But I hope they put it out, you know, in this generation, and it's pretty good. People enjoy it. As well, so I think gaming's coming a long way. We've got some probably these come out in November, so we have a little bit to where we can toy with it. But yeah, it's a good time for that. And we'll talk about some more video games here in a minute in your Quaran-Stream. But I'll let you take off with this first thing here that I'm interested to get your take on.
Yeah, so here we have my little Quaran-Stream. So, you know, pull on up your nice little chair. You can unfold it. Maybe use one of those things where it's like one of those big long tubes that you catch air in, and then you tie it up, and it's like an inflatable beanbag.
Oh, we have a flesh-colored one of those in our office, and we call it the hoo-ha. Because of what it looks like, and I'm like, I don't like this. Let's get this out of here.
So please sit down in the hoo-ha and prepare for the Quaran-Stream. And first up, we have a brand new film that landed on Netflix over the weekend, Enola Holmes. We briefly, I think, reported on this movie, I want to say a few months back when it kind of hit the first news cycle. And this is starring Millie Bobby Brown as the sister of Sherlock Holmes, who is played by Henry Cavill, and is also joined by I don't know the guy who plays Sherlock's brother. I actually can't even think of Sherlock's brother's name off the top. Minecraft, and Minecraft kind of ends up playing, I would say, a little bit of a sticky wicket in this movie. But Enola Holmes was pretty fun. You know, she breaks the fourth wall, looks towards the camera, which seems to be almost formulaic when it comes to modern Sherlock Holmes movies, where if you're making a modern interpretation of Sherlock Holmes, you almost need, like, it needs a little bit of a special sauce, right? We kind of saw that with Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes, where it would kind of do that time warp, and he would stop and analyze the situation, and then you'd gotta get to see what he was thinking. And then when you kind of got the Benedict Cumberbatch Sherlock Holmes, we got a little bit of that too, where he would like look at a scene and stuff would highlight.
The Mind Palace.
Yeah, like a slightly maybe more toned down movie interpretation. So with Enola Holmes, we have her breaking the fourth wall, looking to the camera, which I thought was actually pretty funny. The intensity of which she breaks the wall is a little bit higher at the beginning of the movie, and then kind of once you get into the story, it kind of tampers down a little bit, which is kind of fun because you briefly forget about it, and then she'll break the wall again. So it was a fun movie. I would say this is a really good all ages film. You should definitely sit down and watch it with your family, with your kids. And I think I would be pleasantly surprised by a sequel. It didn't really knock me off my socks. You know, I'm glad I didn't spend $15 to go catch it in theaters. Because I feel like this is a good small screen take where you don't really need the gigantic screen and special effects dazzling your eyeballs.
And it was made with that in mind, knowing that it wasn't made and then brought to Netflix. It was made by Netflix.
Yeah, also there's kind of this, I don't know if I want to say surreal moment, but Enola and Sherlock share a lot of scenes in the film. But there's this one scene about halfway through the movie where I'm just sitting there and I realize, oh wow, I'm watching like the two biggest high budget talents from Netflix on screen right now. Millie Bobby Brown, who is basically homegrown over at Netflix from Stranger Things, probably their single most popular title. And then you also have The Witcher, which is probably their fastest growing title right now, that's already has greenlit spinoffs with adapting a huge star of Henry Cavill. So just kind of when you realize that when they're on screen together, you're just like, wow, there's a lot of really huge star power in this movie, and you don't even realize it. So it was kind of fun seeing the character go through London, kind of come across some other Sherlock Easter eggs, if you will. But I think the last time we talked about this movie, we talked about a slight scandal or some red tape that they had to go through, and I don't think I came across any of that in the movie. There's nothing to where you would think the characters are being treated wrong or outside of their historical characteristics. So all of that must have been blown out of proportion.
Well, the whole point of it is there is in Sherlock Holmes, there's technically, I guess, two versions of Sherlock Holmes. One is where he has that is copyright in the public domain. Is like he has no emotions, I believe, is what it is. He's like a very non-emotional character, and then there's the one that's falls under the copyrights where he has like emotions and is very prone to fits of anger, I think, and rage. It's really, really weird how they determine which one's which, and that's what it boils down to. Now, again, I believe, if I remember this correctly, the writer of Sherlock Holmes has no direct relatives. These are all nieces and nephews and other family descendants who just we need some money and want to argue about it. So it's very weird. That thing is, but that's all it was. They were just suing to say, hey, you're using our version of Sherlock. You need to pay us.
It's actually funny that you mentioned that, because when I think of Henry Cavill's performance, he is very metered. You don't really get a whole lot of range out of the character. And, it is Enola's movie at the end of the day, so you don't really expect him to really kind of steamroll it. But, yeah, now that I think about it, I do think I maybe would have liked a little bit more out of him. But I guess now if they're moving forward and they're adapting Enola, they can give all of that big kind of performance and the outlandish, and just they can give it all to her, which is great. So yeah, I would recommend Enola Holmes if you haven't checked it out, peeps.
Mm-hmm. On Netflix, I've not heard much about it, but nothing bad. Usually when something's bad, you hear a lot about it, so that's good.
Yeah, but speaking of modern streaming services, maybe something that you might not think about is this is probably going to be the first and maybe the last time I ever mentioned TikTok here on the show, but there has been this blowing up star over the weekend that I just feel like I had to mention because this guy just brought me just a nice little nugget of joy. Goes by the name of 420 Dogface 208. Yep, that's right. He's just this laid back dude who put up a TikTok where he's just cruising on a skateboard. It looks like he's like near like a freeway on ramp. I don't know exactly where he is. Kind of looks like he's out in the middle of nowhere, but he's just chilling on a skateboard. He's doing the TikTok thing where you sing along to a song, and then he's just drinking out of a full-size bottle of ocean spray, cran raspberry. I love how there's no lid on the bottle of cran raspberry either. He's already dedicated his entire ride, I feel like, to drinking this whole bottle, and it's just, there's this whole vibe to it. I linked it in the show notes, but there's a good chance that you've probably already seen it because he's gone very viral over the weekend, and if you check out his other social media points, you can see he's uploaded a lot of just really cool, chilled, laid-back stuff. So I don't really know what the call to action here is. I think he's got like a Cameo account, so if you want him to give you a shout-out, I think you can pay him a couple bucks and he'll give you a shout-out, which I just think is pretty funny, and it's just really just tells you where the internet's at right now in a very special way. But yeah, go check out 420 Dogface 208, and I woke up this morning to check Twitter, and I saw some people are reporting sellouts of cran raspberry at their local grocery store. So he's already had probably the best viral marketing campaign that Ocean Spray has ever seen. So this dude's just hilarious. I was telling you about him just a few minutes ago before we got on the mic, and you seem perplexed, Chris.
I don't get it. I don't understand it. I've watched the video. I just don't get it. And maybe it's my age showing. Maybe it's my, hey, I just got off work and I need to get a different mentality kind of thing. I don't know. I just don't get it. So
yeah, if you don't want to check out the show notes, I think I retweeted it a few days ago. If you wanna go check out 420 Dogface 208. But that is my second thing that you can watch during the Quaran-Stream. And third, I just wanted to catch everybody up and say I've finally completed the campaign for Marvel's Avengers,
Yay.
Chris. It's all wrapped up, tied up in a bow. I've completed it.
Now we can play together in the post-campaign missions.
Oh, will we though? I was just gonna give a brief impressions of what I thought about the campaign, because I know the end game content is very sprawling and will evolve over time. But when it comes to just the story of the campaign, I would say it was pretty serviceable. No spoilers. I'm not going to spoil the game if you haven't got around to it. But, it felt like pretty on-brand Marvel story. I really felt like this could have been something that could have been told in a comic book. Not saying it should have been, but it felt very natural. It didn't feel out of the ordinary.
I 100% agree with, this feels like reading a book. At some point,
Correct me if I'm wrong. I know I don't have a scholarly degree when it comes to MODOK, but this is a fresh take on MODOK, right?
Yes. Normally he is. Yeah. This is not anything that's happened before.
Yeah, so I enjoyed the fresh take on MODOK. I love that Kamala was our entry into this story. You mentioned last week that the voice actress really knocks it out of the park. I would totally 100% agree. I don't know if the voice actress looks the part, so I don't know if there's a chance that maybe that person could be cast as Kamala. I'm not 100% sure.
I think she's older.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I would love to see maybe some more animated takes, or however they want to do it, because I'd love to see that voice actress maybe come back in other aspects. That would be great. That would be really cool. So there are some really cool story points too. I would say my favorite parts of the game are the levels that are very unique to the campaign, because throughout the campaign you go out and kind of do missions that are more, I guess, familiar to what the end game content is like. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then they sprinkle in some missions that are very unique to the campaign, right?
Yeah. So yes, and then there are also character specific missions.
Yeah, so those campaign specific missions are really fun because they're these crafted set pieces with cutscenes and unique kind of layouts that you can't really experience anywhere else, like on the helicarrier. Or you might be. I don't want to spoil anything because I don't want to give anything.
Well, there
away.
was in one of the previews before it came out. There's a Thor specific level on the helicarrier.
Oh, I guess the Yeah, exactly. Or the one thing that I can really say is the opening shot. Everybody knows the bridge set piece because it's been in every trailer.
And it was in the beta too.
Yeah, exactly. So those are where it really excels. But there was a few things that I was unfortunately just like really disappointed with. I know these things could possibly be added into the end game content, but I just wanted them to inject a little bit more life into the campaign with some more Marvel villains. I mean, I was really let down by really successful games don't have to have really big boss set piece fights, but this game really feel like it needed some more of them. I got really tired of fighting really big robots and just robots throughout the entire game. It kind of felt like a waste, and I understand when you're a team of the Avengers, you do kind of need to fight hordes. It's kind of the use for the Avengers, but man, the robots really started to weigh on me over time. And I think probably the biggest thing that might keep me from playing the game long term, I would say, is the level design, because those levels where you're just kind of like going out and doing missions just felt really repetitive to me. They always seem to start out in a big wide open area, then usually you kind of whittle down inside of an aim facility. So I'm really hoping that they have like some developers on tap and they're working on some like new environments. I don't know if they can possibly work in some new villains because they've really kind of set up aim, but like I want to fight something that's not robots. I'd love to fight like a horde of aliens maybe before they possibly make a sequel for the game.
So this is a game as a service. I don't think we'll see a sequel for probably 5 years if I was a betting person. But I will tell you, in the post game content, there's a reason why you fight a limited number of villains. And they kind of explain it. I don't want to tell. I can tell you off air why they do that. But with each character that's coming out, I believe they said they will be adding more large boss fights in with each new character coming in to do that. And I also believe from playing some of Thor's character specific levels that there are more environments coming because his deals with someone pretending to be him. If you have any idea who that is, Mike, who's pretended to be Thor?
Well, I won't say because I've only played the first mission, and I might be more inclined to play some more of those character-based missions.
Yeah, so I think they're there, but I think it's a trickle-down approach for some of this content. Here's what it is, and now we're going to give you every month. It seems like right now. October is Kate Bishop. November is Hawkeye. December could probably be, depending on the atmosphere, Black Panther or Captain Marvel. Spider-Man is coming to PlayStation as well, I believe, in March. So they have like a monthly drip of characters as a live stream. So I imagine you're going to maybe not see them out the gate, but also this game, again, like you said, you can get everything for free on the characters, right? Like there's a lot of like 6 character things.
Well, see, that's kind of another point. I feel like my opinion overall of this game would be a lot different if the game was free. And I know that sounds like crazy, and it sounds like I'm just wanting people to give me stuff, but it just seems like when I'm looking just at what this game gives you beyond another kind of free to play service game, really I feel like I paid $60 for a pretty short campaign. And I really wish if the game was free, even if they left the campaign in or left it out, I feel like my opinion of the game overall would be really different because I'm not invested in it $60. So I think that psychologically, that's something that I felt like it seems like they could get away with. They're like, oh, this is a big brand name. This is Avengers. We can get away with the $60 price tag. But
well, I'm playing
I don't know.
My second time, and it's still a 10 to 20 hour campaign. I don't feel like that's short at all compared by any means. I mean, I know you blew through Call of Duty in like the first week. You had it rather than within like a week. So I mean, you're like 4 weeks into this. So I mean, I don't know what would you make a free campaign.
Well, because I mean, in Call of Duty, it's like you're on a roller coaster ride. It's like every part of the level is crafted. You're going all over the world to all of these unique environments. You're dealing with these unique kind of like waves enemies and all of these different like locations, and there's like all of these cutscenes and stories, but like with Marvel's Avengers it's like a totally different style of game, so I thought it might last a little bit longer than what it did. But overall, to me, I'm not saying the game is just trash, I know it sounds like I'm coming off bad. To me, it was like a very mixed bag. So the game is very lucky. Like you said, it is like this, all of this in-game content, and it's this game as a service that will probably live on for 5 years. So they're lucky in their aspects that they have time to evolve and grow and develop it. So I'm not super sold on the game. I'm hoping that when they bring out all of these other components, like all these new characters and all of these other character-based missions, like give me some like really classic Marvel villains, give me something to fight that's not just big giant robots, and I think I'll be a little bit more excited moving forward. But that's me on a Marvel's Avengers. I looked into, once I beat the game, I was able to kind of go out into the world and read other people's reviews and opinions, and some people are like really, really digging the combat. They say like once you level up your character to like a decently high level, not even like level capping it out, but like once you kind of get into like the 30s and 40s of the character, you lock all of these different skill trees and you can chain all of this stuff together. And I think one person was saying like they got their Captain America like to this level to where they can almost like juggle a character like indefinitely in the air, and they can keep that what's it called when you hit the L1 and R1 buttons? Is that their heroic?
Their ultimate?
Yeah, their ultimate. They said that they can keep that Brooklyn Brawler ultimate going for almost like in perpetuity, as long as they keep smashing people. So you can definitely do some pretty cool stuff combat based. So there's definitely stuff to take away from this game that's pretty cool.
I think there's two thought processes behind this, because one, I agree, by the time you beat the game, none of your characters are at level 10, right? Like none of them, I think, are at level 10, because it makes you not necessarily juggle, but you go through 6 very unique characters. So you don't have time to level one of them up because you have to play as Kamala, or you have to play as Iron Man, and so on and so forth. I think that is a problem, because the game does open up once you hit at least level 15, because then you can start equipping double or 2 of the artifacts on the right there. And then you get your points to level them up. So I wish you felt stronger earlier in the game, because like it doesn't really, like the campaign doesn't push you to play side missions to level up, because none of it matters in the game. Cause like I told you don't have to worry about your gear. If you just play, you can beat the campaign. And there are, again, in the post game, every one of the side missions I've done has a I guess a cinematic to kick them off. Like they don't just like, hey, you're flying and here you are. So I know there are people who want more, there are people who want less, because some people think it's way too much to take in. And I've been having a good time. I've been playing the PlayStation version, beating the campaign, and I'm about to, again, that Thor level, if you will, from not the dip.
Oh yeah, that's great. I love that level, man.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the one after that that really I don't know, elevates this game out of this world, if you will.
Oh yeah. That's very, very unique, very fun. But I had some issues with jumping in that level.
Yeah.
Which I feel like if you're playing this on a next gen console, you might be off to a better start, because at some points in this game when you die, at least on a PlayStation 4, which seems like an old ass console nowadays, like you have to wait. And it has to load, and you have to look at these tips on the screen. I swear it feels like for a whole minute, and it's just like, I feel like if I was on a next-gen console or one of these like juiced-up PS4s or Xboxes, I wouldn't have to wait as long. But
yeah,
man, yeah,
it is like a free upgrade for PlayStation 5 and Xbox One, if anyone has one, by the way. So I'm looking forward to that. On the other side of that, Friday, now starting this past Friday, is the Great British Bake Off coming back tonight.
Something I have absolutely no complaints about, and I love every single thing about it.
Yeah, so I hate that this show is very formulaic. If you watch all the seasons together, you see exactly what they do for everything, but it doesn't take away from the charm of it. So I think the charm of the contestants, they're not mean, they're not vicious.
They're the opposite. If they accidentally bump something, they feel so bad they cry.
Yeah, like it is not something like, this is like the opposite of like Hell's Kitchen or one of those. What are they kitchen? That's not Kitchen Nightmares. What are they called? I think it's Hell's Kitchen, right? So the people are getting voted off. They're being told, hey, here's how you can improve, not like, hey, you suck. Like, and this first episode was Cake Week, which I thought was fun because they actually did Bus as one of them, and they showed that in the preview. God. It was so fun to see them try to do like caricatures of famous people.
Oh, I loved it, and I love how they're everyone in the tent, except for the hosts that are just there to make fun, are like very high level bakers, even if they're not professionals. But even the judges were just like, yeah, we don't expect you to be artists and sculptors. We just want you to make something that resembles a human face. And I would say that's very much exactly what needed to happen, because some of these faces were downright hysterical. Yeah. Like we were laughing so hard on the couch when we were watching this. And I like the one guy did a famous American punk singer.
Yeah. That came. I'm like, what the hell?
Which was really funny, and it was great overall. But yeah, I like it when you say, yeah, the show is very formulaic, but we really lean into my household, because I feel like the castings are always on point. They're always getting a couple really young people on there who have only been baking for a couple of years, but they're really sharp. You always get like the grandma or the grandpa that have just been doing it their whole life, and they only know like really the classic standards. You get some of these people in the middle. There's always somebody with like an architectural or engineering background. So it is funny how they do always hit the same archetypes every season.
It's going back. I couldn't tell you a single character's like contestant's name, but I could tell you what archetype they fall into for this.
This
season.
Exactly. Usually, what they like every reality show. Usually, they give you a little like background on them. Usually, maybe a couple seconds of them at home when they send out like a B crew to their house to take some shots of them. Usually you get a little bit of their character there, and that's usually how me and my wife end up naming them. They'd be like, oh, that's basketball guy. Oh yeah, because he plays basketball. I don't know his name. I'm never gonna learn his name, but it's basketball guy, So it's just like you just take like those one thing. But yeah, this is just like Jon Stewart used to say at the end of the Daily Show, like, this is your moment of zen. If you just need something like just totally chill. And it's unique, too, because this is one of the few reality shows that isn't just all filmed within, like, a very condensed amount of time, and then they just edit it to make it seem like it happened, like, over an entire summer. Like usually these people go home after the weekend and they practice, but now, during the pandemic, they're all just kind of chilling on the grounds.
Yeah, so that's like the one thing of it. Like, they put it together where they have to live together. They are staying together, and they had to quarantine together like 2 weeks before they even got together. So they're making it work. It doesn't feel any different, but it's going to be a more condensed season, I feel, by the end of it.
Yeah, I mean, if this was like a Great British Bake Off podcast, we would go into the minutiae and the macros of the contest, because if they used to go home and they practice before the next week, they don't get to go home and practice before the next week. But I'm sure they have kitchens on the grounds that they can practice. But also, if you're a production company during a pandemic, you definitely don't want to wait 7 days to film the next episode. So I bet that instead of doing like 5 days in between, they're probably going to do 3 or 2 days in between filming the next episode. So these contestants are going to be getting hit harder and faster, I think.
Yeah, so. I think so. And we'll find out this week when they're like, well, it's been X amount of days since you were last here. And they'll probably be like, it was yesterday. We're doing this all in a row. Good luck. I'm not a big fan of the newest host yet. The other comedian guy.
Noel. I don't know his name off the top of my head. I don't know if you literally just said it.
No, Noel is the guy who's old Greg.
Yeah. Noel Fielding. He's been around for a couple seasons now. Yeah. The new guy's pretty funny though. I've seen him in other things. I believe. If you don't know who he is, he was kind of like a side character in Bridesmaids. He was like the
Rebel Wilson's brother.
He was like the brother of like the roommate or something like that. He's been in other things as well. I believe he's more popular across the pond.
Alice in Wonderland, he was Tweedledee and Tweedledum, if you will, the Tim Burton movies. Well, I'm just saying, that's like his big. I think that was his biggest role,
biggest breakout role.
Yeah, like for
he's a little soft spoken, but I think he'll lean into it. He's just getting warmed up.
Yeah, that's fine. I just miss. I mean, it's turned around completely. Like they had 2 women hosts, Paul and Mary Berry, and now they've kind of flipped the script a little bit, and they've got 2 male hosts, Paul and Prue. So. Nothing against them. It's just a different. I think the I don't know the level of how the host interacted has changed a little bit, but Still a good show. Still a relaxed show. I mean, there's 11 seasons I think you can watch on Netflix. So,
yeah. So I guess after talking about TikTok and baking, we should probably move on to
we're about 34 minutes into the show.
What we usually traffic in here.
Yeah. So WandaVision dropped literally the second we stopped recording last week. I think we'd even edited it and thrown it up already. And you were like, "Hey, guess what? Just came out during the Emmys." And I'm like, "Well, son of a bitch." So we got our first trailer for WandaVision, which will be coming out this year. They said so. It is believed to be that this trailer is the highest 24-hour draw online for a streaming service ad.
Wow, I actually didn't know that.
Yep. So they think that this for a streaming service, this is the most watched commercial at the end of the day.
Yeah, I love that that's the asterisk for a streaming service. So, I mean, like, what would be like the second biggest? Probably a Stranger Things trailer or something like that. Yeah. Because I think Netflix is the only other streaming service that really has quite the fervent audience out there.
Netflix. Right? I mean, I would have guessed maybe the Justice League Snyder Cut maybe.
Maybe. It
says HBO Max series. I don't know what Hulu has that's like really unique to its core. Maybe Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah, I don't know if Handmaid's Tale is bringing the really foaming at the mouth of viewers for trailers that they will. I know it's a good show.
I can see like a season 2 or something, not like the initial launch. But again, this is the first year since 2009 we've not had a Marvel property in theaters, so we're chomping at the bit for something here. And what was cool about this is we get to see Kitty Foreman return to TV. I cannot remember the actress's name for the life of me, and I feel bad. But you remember it's the mom from that 70s show, pretty much being the mom from that 70s show, and a Leave It to Beaver kind of era thing here. And I thought that was a fun way to start this off. And then this, how weird do you want your trailer to be, Mike? The answer is yes.
Extra weird.
The answer is yes. So, it looks like the show kind of goes through different eras, like we've talked about. At one point, the Vision evolves into like a human face, and then like later on, they all get color back. It looks like as they evolve through time. There's children. There is I forget the actress's name, Catherine Hahn, I believe, is playing a character named Agnes, who is she's in all the different eras, but she's also like the person who's like, am I dead? And she's like, no, why? He's like, because you are, kind of thing. So.
Yeah, we actually been watching her just recently because we've been going through the series of Parks and Rec. She pops up every once in a while as a campaign manager, so she's a big personality, that's for sure.
Was she in Step Brothers as Will Ferrell's brother's wife?
Oh, Adam Scott's wife?
Yeah.
Oh, God, actually, now that you say it, yeah, possibly. Yeah, it does seem like I feel like I remember her seeing, like, kind of dressed up, like, all nice and, like, waspy, if you will, because she thought she was better than everybody else.
Well, I think she was the one who was hitting on John C. Reilly.
Oh,
Tell him all the weird stuff. So, yeah, so she's a comedian, and of course she acts. I believe she does some voiceover stuff, too. I don't have it pulled up in front of me here.
Yeah, Catherine Hahn, yeah, she was Alice.
Yep. There you go. I Bob's Burgers was the other thing that came up whenever I looked, but I think it's only a couple episodes. But anyway, so I mean, do you see the classic Vision costume he dressed up for his Halloween in there?
Yeah, we got the classic Vision costume. It reminded me of that moment in season 1 of Luke Cage where he's briefly in his classic costume.
Oh yeah, exactly. And then Wanda was in her classic costume at some point. They had the kids. Then you and I talked a little bit before the show. There's a point where the character Monica Rambeau flies across the screen through some sort of portal out into the real world, and we're trying to determine is this like a bubble that they're all trapped in? Is it a different dimension? What is going on here, and why is Monica Rambeau involved?
Yeah, that's the whole other part of the trailer to dive into is the emotions and the feelings and what actually is going on. Because most of the time it seems like the characters are really inhabiting the world that they're in. They're pretending to be these like Leave It to Beaver type characters, but then they have these moments of realization like, this doesn't seem right. This seems strange. Where are we? I'm confused. And really before we were operating off of this idea that maybe Wanda is doing this intentionally. Maybe this is her way way of coping with the loss of vision. So it could have been something done by her own hands, but it seems like she is also very confused in this trailer as well. So if she is indeed doing this, maybe it's just not known to her. You know, maybe her powers have like swelled to an uncontrollable state where she doesn't know what's happened. But yeah, there does seem to be some sort of bubble dynamic, kind of like I was describing it as like the film Annihilation, where that kind of area of the world has been kind of quarantined off and they're sending scientists in to check it out. It kind of seems like maybe there's a similar vibe possibly being set up here.
Yeah, I mean, so what I can get is that the character Agnes is Agatha Harkness, who was like one of the original Salem witches, who has some history teaching the Scarlet Witch how to use her powers. So I think maybe there's something here that's bringing Vision back to life, that's holding them, and then maybe it's one of those she wished for Vision to be back, so some higher power is holding her responsible, or like using her powers for some malicious reasonings. I don't know. There's a lot that I don't know in this, and I don't feel like I'm going to get an answer until we watch it.
Yeah, I feel like the two biggest things that I'm thinking about is, so the television motif is definitely something that somebody could go to in their mind for comfort, right? You know, oh, I'm imagining things as a TV show to kind of process my emotions, but it seems to be materializing as something real, because when Monica Rambeau is kind of flung back out into the real world, she flies through television static. She's not flying through like red WandaVision magic, you know? So I guess it kind of stretches a little bit more out to the real world. They're really, really kind of leaning into this television aesthetic, even with the logo. The logo even kind of looks like an old classic car, like iron-on like little thing that you would put in on like the trunk of a car. And number two, the biggest question that we all want answers: is Vision still alive?
Is he dead?
Yeah, we got into last time we saw him. He was just a gray hunk of metal. So is Wanda going to be able to will him back into existence? Because, you know, she is made from one of the stones. You know, can she make that happen? You know, there was a lot of talk of Vision being a computer-based kind of life form in Infinity War. So is he backed up somewhere partially on a hard drive, and Wanda can is the only one that can reboot him? There's a lot of ways I feel like they could bring him back, but also should they bring him back? What's going on?
I think he has to be alive for this to work. So yes. Now, is there a long-term goal for Vision? I don't know. A lot of people complain that they kind of watered him down over his course of introduction, right? Like in Age of Ultron, he literally was melting Ultron with his Mind Stone beam, and then you get to like Infinity War and he was stabbed within like 10 seconds and couldn't fight his way out of it. So it all goes either way how you feel about the Vision. But I think, at the same time in Infinity War, Shuri looked like she finished his like whatever, like breaking the stone. So I think there's more to that we'll get into this, but I don't think it's going to be computer related. I think everything with Wanda is going to be very much, this is magic powered related. And we also talked about a little bit on there. Kat Dennings, who plays Darcy in the Thor series, is part of the show, and they've not seen her yet. So if she has any experience with the Thor, the multi-universe, like the universes aligning and the Einstein bridges or whatever they talked about in those movies, I think this may be something related. They bring her in as an expert to talk about this. Is this a different even universe? It's like a bubble universe. If
they're bringing her in as an expert, they better have at least one line where it says she has gone out and done a lot of like research, field work, and has like gotten a PhD and master's and all that stuff. Because I think the last time we saw her, she was just kind of like she was just like a college assistant, right? She wasn't really. She didn't seem very interested in all of this stuff. She was just very kind of laissez-faire about all of this.
The first one, yes. The Dark World, she was more involved in that movie. I mean, she was like doing the reports to tell Jane that things were happening. I think she was more involved in that one. But at the same time, the Dark World technically took place in 2014, and this is now 2023. So she'd had 10 years of growth. I think there's enough there that our last recollection of Darcy and what the world looks like, 9 years later is definitely going to be different. Knock on wood.
Maybe some dark stuff happened with her. Maybe some of her family got blipped, and she just all she could do is just stuff her head in books.
Yeah, find ways to bring people back. Maybe she was trying to find ways to different dimensions. Who knows? I mean, like there's ways to do that. So I think she's going to be, knock on wood, still comedic, but like nothing different. Also, someone was digging into the source code on Disney Plus, and they think that this show will drop November 27th. For that, so
yeah, thanks for the digital sleuths out there. You can't do that with movies all the time.
Nope. So that's November 27th. That is the Friday after Thanksgiving, Mike.
That seems like a good as time as any to drop it.
Yep. So a lot of people are like, well, what about the Mandalorian? Well, Star Wars people not necessarily are Marvel fans, and Marvel fans aren't necessarily Star Wars fans. You can have both. It's fine. We'll be fine. Everyone will have a good time. On the flip side, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier will not make this year's release. However, there's a set photo of Erin Kellerman. She was in Solo. She's the one who took off her helmet there at the end. They thought it was the villain. I can't think of the name.
Yeah.
So she is actually supposedly playing the character Songbird in this, who would later join the Thunderbolts. And on the left side of that is George St. Pierre, who played Batroc the Leaper in Civil War. Mm-hmm. So it looks like they're trying to maybe set up some Thunderbolts or an evil version of this Falcon Winter Soldier team, very ground level kind of thing. So because you got Falcon and then you got someone named Songbird. So yeah, I think it's interesting. I think I'm glad they're filming. They all look like they're all wearing masks on set there, being safe. I think this will probably hit pretty hard first of 2021.
This is everyone wants to see Captain America's shield again. Everybody's in love with Bucky's long hair. They want to see these characters return.
Well, he doesn't have long hair in this. Remember, he cut it.
Ah, man, that's right.
Yeah, he got short hair, but it's fine. He's got the vibranium arm, man. He's doing good with that stuff. But on the flip side of that, the reason we need to hit that in spring, Mike, is because Marvel has changed the release dates for 3 of their movies.
2020 is canceled, everybody.
Completely canceled.
Nothing's happening.
So Black Widow is no longer hitting this year. It will be May 7th, 2021. The first film of summer, delayed a whole year from its initial date. Shang-Chi is moved from February to July 9th. So to hit that February slot, I think Falcon and Winter Soldier will take over that spring gap for us, leading up to Black Widow. I also do not think Black Widow will be affected by Falcon and Winter Soldier. I think that's just a coincidence.
Also, I think something was reported over the weekend where there was an official statement that said that there's nothing canonically within Black Widow that's holding anything up within the MCU. So, I mean, that's good to know too. That we can safely watch the show without spoiling anything.
Well, and the other thing is the Eternals, which was originally November of this year, is being pushed back to November of next year. I think it was like in May as well. So they've delayed it a whole year, and I know it's done. So this actually rearranges the release date, putting Shang-Chi before Eternals now. So it also feels like there's nothing in those 2 movies that kind of tie each other together or hold each other back.
Yeah, I mean, I guess one of the upside to all of this stuff getting pushed by a year is, unfortunately there wasn't a lot of production that was able to happen during 2020, not a lot of physical production, but kind of the good side of making movies is so much of movie making happens offset, right? Post-production, pre-production, writing. So they've just unlocked all of this extra time that can go into all of these other Marvel movies, which means we're going to get this awesome swell of stuff. So not only we'll be getting a lot more Marvel stuff in 2021 and 2022. It'll just be like this condensed 2 years where we're getting stuff all the time, which is really, really great. We'll really make up for this shitty year that we've gone through. But possibly all of this stuff could just also be better in quality, right? Because you've just had more time in these really important parts of production when it comes to post and pre-production, where the movies really take place. I mean, there's so many directors I think out there that have quoted saying the movie is really found in the editing process in post-production. The shooting is just getting as much as you can, getting coverage. So there's a chance that we could see a slight noticeable quality bump. And obviously we do a podcast about all of these movies and we love them, so it's great knowing that there's a chance that they could even be a little bit better with all this extra time.
Yeah, and not that they would be bad. I mean, Marvel puts out pretty solid movies. I also think just on the flip side of that, a lot of studios have said they're not doing more post-production because that does in fact involve costs, and most of the budget's already spent on a lot of these movies. So I don't think I think Black Widow is in a safe zone where they're not going to touch it, because it almost came out. Like, we were like, what, a month out before they moved that? Like, that was like almost there.
Yeah, exactly. There's not going to be any extra work being put on Black Widow, because that was pretty much ready. They were pretty much ready to hit play for us until the pandemic.
But the other ones, Shang-Chi's still filming. Eternals probably is a lot of CGI work, stuff like that. But yeah, so I think there are some that are, yes, can benefit. Some are like, yeah, we don't need it. But at the same time, what's not on here because it didn't move yet, Spider-Man is December of next year. So we're going from 0 to 4 in a heartbeat. So
man, it's gonna be weird watching a Spider-Man movie in December. I feel like it's almost always notoriously been July or maybe June at the earliest.
Well, hopefully this upcoming Spider-Man movie really gets us with a lot of surprises, if you will. We'll talk some about that here in a little bit, because our previous Spider-Man director is doing another movie for Marvel. But as you mentioned, guess what? They're not pushing back start dates for any other shows or things, Mike. They're still going full force. And they've had enough time to add on Nick Fury, a TV show for Disney+. And Samuel L. Jackson will return as Nick Fury for the show, Mike. And that is all we know officially. But I think that this is that Secret Invasion series that they said they were working on. Quote-unquote Secret Invasion. Nick Fury, where did we last see him?
Last time we saw him, he was in space, man.
He was on the sword ship with a bunch of shapeshifters. So what if this is, instead of just doing Secret Invasion, it's the Nick Fury, show that focuses on this and kicks it off, or does a whole show on it.
I mean, he's the manager of all managers, right? You want him in charge of a team. You want him controlling people, pulling the strings, doing things in the background. I don't know if this is necessarily worrying me, but I feel like kind of when you get one of these big, like kind of AAA or S-tier Marvel MCU characters that have been around forever, and once they finally get a Disney Plus, once they get their Disney Plus show, it kind of almost feels like it could possibly be their swan song, if you will. Will this be Nick Fury's possibly last outing? I mean, he's not getting any younger. I mean, Samuel L. Jackson will have a very long, I think, storied career in Hollywood, even past the MCU. He's definitely not done. But I feel like as Sam Jackson, being Nick Fury, maybe his kind of time is coming to an end. So could this be maybe his last outing? I'm glad he's getting a whole series, because we get to get even more of them. I feel like Nick Fury as just a whole character, it's just like less is more. It seems like they've always just wanted him to pepper him in just to kind of like yell at people very effectively. It has worked out pretty well. So him having a whole series is going to be really, really fun. We're going to get lots of screen time from him. I really feel Civil War is just as much of a Nick Fury, not Civil War, Winter Soldier is just as much of a Nick Fury movie as the Captain America movie. He's gone. He's out of the movie for a while though. Like he's not even really in the second act, and he doesn't show up until like the very kind of like halfway through the third act. But like he is like the I guess the catalyst for the start and finish of the film. Like, he has one of the coolest scenes in the movie too, when he is escaping from that SUV. Yeah, the Winter Soldier stuff. Yeah, so I think he's got some really cool stuff in there, and he's not done. Now, what I want to see in this show, Mike, and I might have told you this. Bring in David Hasselhoff as a disguise for Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury. Because if those who don't know, David Hasselhoff played Nick Fury in 1997 on Fox TV. And I think that would just be the coolest throwback that they could do for this. I mean, now that you're talking Skrulls briefly. I mean, if you have shapeshifters, you can already imagine like the brief scene where is it Kree or Skrulls? I'm getting these Skrulls shapeshift. Yeah, Skrull. Yeah, I'm just already imagining one of the Skrulls just like showing off all of these new shapes that they've adapted, traveling all over the world, and then briefly morph into David Hasselhoff. Yeah. But before they were Nick Fury, and then when they morph into David Hasselhoff, they still have some of the clothes on. So it's just like, oh yeah, that's I think it'd be funnier if they're like, well, we're looking for Samuel Jackson. He's a black guy with an eye patch on. Well, they find again David Hasselhoff, a large, muscular white man with an eye patch on. Like, well, this isn't him, obviously. But I mean, I think there's some opportunity here. I think again, is it a swan song? Maybe, probably. How do you get more Nick Fury? Technically, was in the first Iron Man, and with the series will be the longest running MCU character
to date, right? Like, I mean, so I'm excited for this, and hopefully they do it. And what is Nick Fury good at doing, Mike? Just disappearing when you need him most.
Yes.
So
that's my one stipulation for this show. If this is indeed Samuel L. Jackson's last outing as Nick Fury, they cannot kill him. If they need to just have him mysteriously disappear, no one knows what happened to him. You can infer that he possibly died, but we can't get any confirmation. He just needs to be this like legacy, this ghost that just kind of disappears and fades. And there's a way that you can concretely, narratively tell the audience that he's not coming back, but the characters around him know that they don't know what's happened to him. So that's the magic I want to see pulled off in that, episode 8, if you will, which will probably be how long it is.
It's 6 to 8. So let's see what they're doing with that and keep it going. Another Disney Plus show I'm excited for is Moon Knight. Right, they're moving along with it. Yeah. They're casting right now, and they are eyeing Keanu Reeves for the lead role of Mark Spector.
Keanu Reeves, the elusive actor that's been rumored, I feel like, for pretty much every other Marvel character, right?
The Keanu songs. Well, here's the thing. Everyone has... they've cast relatively young for every Marvel show, right? Almost every Marvel role they cast younger. But they're looking specifically for 40s to 50s for Mark Spector because he has a storied past as a mercenary already. So they can't really be like, oh, you're 25 and you've been a mercenary for... how long? Like 5 years? You're not really storied. So I think this is an opportunity if they can get him, bring him in. Keanu Reeves. Like I said, we're in the Keanu-sance. What can he do? He's doing comic books. He's doing video games. He's doing Bill and Ted 3.
There's absolutely no more kind of stink attached to doing like TV or streaming based content. I mean, that's basically where the future is. That's where everybody's trying to go. That's where you get the big paychecks. That's where you get the big cash. So, I mean, I think Keanu is looking over at Disney Plus. I think this is a good place to go.
Well,
so,
Marvel's got money.
They're gonna have to pay a lot of money for him though, because he's top tier.
Yeah. I mean, if they maybe if they start publishing his comic book, he might do it for a discounted fee. Because his book is called Berserker, but you take out the E's, so it's just like BRZRKR. So I've heard good things. They're also currently casting the side characters from the Moon Knight series: Jean-Paul Deschamps, who's also known by Frenchie, and Marlene Alroon. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. I just read the comic books; they don't tell you their name out loud. And who's like a love interest of Moon Knight. I'm about to say Ghost Rider. It's Moon Knight. So I think they're moving along. I think production's going to go on schedule for all these other shows, and in 2022 we're going to have like a waterfall effect of 2021, maybe like in back half of 2020, just a waterfall effect of these shows, Mike. Like I think that would be killer for that. Doctor Strange, got some rumors. You want some rumors?
Yeah, give me some rumors.
Okay,
I love
it's
the
one
rumors.
rumor. Tom Cruise is going to play Tony Stark from Another Earth in this movie.
Yeah, I saw this briefly. I never clicked into the article because I figured if it was important enough, you would add it into the show notes. So yeah, this is crazy. I wonder how closely this will come out next to The Flash, who's going to be doing something very similar with doing these alternate realities of characters. It sounds like Marvel is not going to lean into it possibly as much, but I mean, that's crazy. I'm just trying to imagine like Tom Cruise being Tony Stark. That kind of feels like fan casting. Like, what was the show we used to watch a lot on YouTube? Movie Fights.
Yeah.
Where they would bring these nerds on to fight, and I feel like I distinctly remember a category where they were debating, who would the Marvel Avengers cast be if the movies happened in like the 90s? And I'm sure Tom Cruise was cast as Tony Stark in one of those arguments. So it seems to make a little bit of sense.
Well, I'm pretty sure Tom Cruise was they wanted him for Iron Man back when this started. Like, it's not like a fan casting. Like, he was one of the lead roles for this. And that is part of like why they're doing this. Like, Tom Cruise, he doesn't want to sign up for a franchise unless it's Mission Impossible. What did he do? Did he do like 2 Jack Reacher films, I think? So like they can bring him in, get him to do the role, and like, hey, this is what could have been in another universe, when they literally we're going to hire him instead of Robert Downey Jr. back in 2007.
I mean, it's a very easy role for a high-level celebrity to cameo as, because you don't even need to put the costume on.
Yeah.
You know, Iron Man's pretty much been fully CG probably since, like, Iron Man 2. So you really just need to kind of, like, clip his head out and stick it in that CG helmet, and you're basically good to go. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's I would imagine that's like a day or two of shooting for him.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I'd love to see them do a different suit from a different universe. You know, I don't want it to be the same looking one, like maybe the Ultimate Iron Man, which is way different looking, or something like that. To really get the hinge, like maybe like, when do you ever see Iron Man 2020? The one that has like the gears on his shoulders, kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
So like there could be some opportunity to put him in a different suit, because maybe they would have designed a different one for him, you know, years ago. So. That's cool. There's also, again, rumors for this, since Sam Raimi is directing, that Tobey Maguire would appear in this movie. However, I think Tobey Maguire would be better fit to show up in a Spider-Man movie, Mike.
I mean, it makes a little bit more sense, doesn't it?
Yeah. I would love to see all the Spider-Man people cameo in a Spider-Man film more than I would like to see Spider-Man people in a Doctor Strange film. So, I don't know. Maybe we'll cross our fingers.
Yeah, well, I think Sony's probably got a little bit more contractual weight over there when it comes to the past Spider-Man.
Hey, you guys want to come do this? We got some money. We'll sprinkle it on you. Because what is Tobey Maguire up to these days, huh?
I don't know. I'd have to Google it. If I had to guess, he seems like the type of person that was just like, my love has always been theater, and they're probably doing like a play somewhere. I mean, obviously not right now, but he seems like a person that has moved on to like Broadway to stretch his acting ability. I have no idea.
I think he probably adopted all the horses from Seabiscuit and is just spending all his free time raising those.
Depending on how good his agent was, if he got any of the back end of those Spider-Man movies back in the day, those were box office record-breaking films. He probably doesn't have to work again a day the rest of his life.
Yeah, it's true. He also was a poker player, really big in like 2005, 2007.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking here. He hasn't done. I was looking at his filmography. I'm just pulling up his filmography. He's been doing some producing.
Hey, look at that. Behind the camera, man.
His last acting role was a voice in The Boss Baby. So he has really just he produced 3 movies in 2019. So I mean, he's
using his Spider-Man money to fund other stuff.
I think the last role I remember watching him in, I guess he was in The Great Gatsby, but I will always remember him in Tropic Thunder, which was the year after Spider-Man 3. So, yeah, that's cool. So, yeah, anyways, moving on. The next thing is Helstrom, Mike. The Hulu show Helstrom gave us our first trailer to look at today. And
Are you sure you don't mean Marvel's Helstrom?
It's not,
or just Helstrom?
It's just Helstrom. They don't say Marvel's Helstrom anymore.
Drop Marvel, just Helstrom.
Yeah.
It's cleaner.
Well, I mean, I think here's the thing I want to tell you. If they showed me this and did not mention Marvel at all, I'd be like, yeah, this isn't too bad. The fact that I know it's a Marvel property now from Jeff Loeb makes me not feel as good about it. But this trailer, it's okay. I mean, it feels like a Hulu show, right? Like, it feels like something you'd watch on Hulu, but nothing.
Yeah, I mean, it seems competent. I don't know if anything really here seems super fresh or original, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Whether this was steeped in a Marvel property or not. But I mean, there's tons of shows out there that deal with like the spooky and the other dimensions and demons and stuff like that.
And to be frank, this seems like if you take Supernatural and you make them a brother and sister instead of 2 brothers, this is your show.
Yeah, it does just kind of seem like another monster hunting show. I don't really know what the, I guess, pun intended, the X Factor is, because the X Factor probably would have been connected to the X-Men universe, but, that seems to be all but vanished. But, that being said, that's just speaking to the quality of the trailer. And usually, outside of big budget streaming shows, something maybe slightly smaller scale, usually your trailer is just kind of showing you highlights of the first episode. And TV shows are usually supposed to be all about character and the narrative and the long stretching storyline. So, there's a chance that this could be a really good show, and if you just sit down and watch it, you could really kind of like dig your feet in and really love all the performances and stuff like that. But at least when it comes to the trailer, I'm just kind of getting generic kind of spook vibes, which, hey, might be all you need in the month of October to kind of vibe with Halloween. So I think this is what part of their broader like Halloween month.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're just looking for some like something new, I mean, there's not just a whole lot of really new stuff really coming out, you know?
Yeah, like I said, it doesn't look bad. It doesn't look good. This literally looks like it would fit in with the Defenders show, like in terms of quality and how everything was cut. Like it feels like, oh, you want a supernatural version of the Defenders? Here's Helstrom. Like that's exactly how it feels, and that's nothing bad, like we've said before. But it's not like, oh, you gotta watch this when it drops.
Yeah.
So
I kind of, just from like the industry kind of insider ballpark part of my brain, I kind of just want to watch it to kind of see if they ever use the word mutant, if they ever like say the word like Xavier,
well,
you know, if there's really going to be any Easter eggs to the Marvel universe at all.
Well, I don't know where you're getting the X-Men connection from. There's nothing X-Men related about this, and it wasn't from Fox.
Well, but from the Marvel Cinematic Comic Book universe, I mean, it's tangentially related. So that's what I'm saying. Is there going to be any kind of like crossover, even just in word drops, if you will?
I would say the only thing they do is, like, again, from the Jeff Loeb era, would this reference Ghost Rider? Because there was a Ghost Rider show announced at the same time that they canceled like the next week, right? And Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is where I would see a connection here. But it looks like since they just dropped Marvel, they're like, nah. This
Yeah.
Here you go. Here's a spook show. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, no sweat off our back.
Yeah, I think we mentioned it before. Yeah, if it's good enough to get a season 2, they'll probably just separate themselves even more from the Marvel title. But you know, if not, you know, it's no big deal, and no one will remember this show after they watch it.
Yeah, pretty much. Or may get a cult following of people who really love stuff. So that drops October 16th on Hulu. All the episodes, nothing weekly. So if you want to binge it that weekend, you know, curl up with your candy corn, Mike. Throw on some jack-o'-lanterns, some Jackie O's, and hang out. What, you don't like Jackie O's?
I love it. Like, oh, honey, do you want to go out to the store and get some Jackie O's? Just like, Chris, I don't know what you're talking about.
No, my wife knows now. She's like, you mean jack-o'-lanterns? I'm like, yeah, I do. What do they call that? What is that? What did I get that from? Where have I stolen this from?
Is that like a parody of a JFK based cereal or something like that? Jackie O's, fill it up.
Apparently,
with a bowl of milk?
Jackie O's is a pub and brewery, but it's not. There was a shortened of Jack-o'-lantern, so I don't know why. I'll figure it out later. I'll tell you guys next
Chris,
week.
your mind palace is one place to be.
Yeah, I wouldn't be there. The Boys is getting a spin-off series featuring young superheroes in college.
Yeah. Have you been watching The Boys? Have you caught up on season 2 yet,
I've
Chris?
not watched a single episode.
Oh, okay. You'll get
Well,
you'll get around
next
to
week is the last episode.
Is it already?
Yeah, it's 8 episodes, and they just did 7 this week.
Oh, wow, man, this is going by fast.
Yeah, right. So that's why I'm kind of like, I'll just kind of cram it all in a week. So a little here, a little there. That way, I don't have to wait each week for that. So yeah, it sounds interesting. None, as far as I know, none of the boys or none of the 7 will be involved in this. It'll just be a Vought Industries Hunger Games meets, college kind of thing.
Yeah, the wife and I have 2 desks that are pretty close to each other. So like during the work week, we're just kind of like sitting down, just doing our work, but then like swapping headlines whenever we scroll across something. And she was just like, "Oh, did you know they're making a Boys spinoff?" I was like, "Oh, really? What's the description?" And she read the description that she had up there, and when she read it, I was like, "Wow, that sounds a lot like My Hero Academia, but rated R." So if you're unaware, My Hero Academia is slightly younger because they're kind of more supposed to be high schoolers. So just imagine them as college-age students. They go to a very specialized superhero-based, college/university, and then they're also there so they can be trained and taught, and then also eventually graduated and moved to like specific cities of, I guess, Vaught's choosing is how the story might end up going.
Well,
and that's
I think I think they vie for sponsorship. Like the cities will like pay to get that specific. Hero.
Yeah, sponsorship. You're looking for placement. That's kind of like how you get like a job as a superhero in like the Boys universe, and that's kind of how it works in My Hero Academia as well. Like in that show, they get like internships in different cities, and they're looking to get picked and get moved to different areas to be heroes. And so it's like, wow, this really sounds like My Hero Academia, but rated R. I'm sure there'll be a lot more nudity and sex and like faces getting ripped off, which literally has happened in season 2 of The Boys. So I'm not surprised. I mean, this is probably the biggest show on Amazon Prime right now, and it probably just comes to straight up viewership and just like fan base. Marvelous Miss Maisel, I would probably say, is second, just mainly because of like Emmys and just like quality overall and production value, and probably budget as well. I think that's also a pretty expensive show to make with being a timepiece and everything. But yeah, The Boys has been a big hit for them. I'm not surprised. And also Seth Rogen and his production company Point Grey, I mean, they're hitting it out of the freaking ballpark, man, right? Like as soon as like what was it with the guy who played Tony Stark's dad, Preacher, yeah, that's right. I can only think of the actor off the top of my head. I mean, that show wrapped up, and they just keep making new ones. So I mean, they're really pumping out content over there, and good for them for getting a spinoff. I hope it's good, just like everything else that hits streaming services. I'm always hoping it works out well.
Well, what was that Russo brothers show about kids with deadly class that didn't really work out?
That was on like that was on Sci-Fi, right? I mean, nobody. I don't think anybody really watches Sci-Fi anymore. Not because the quality might not be good, but I mean, who has that usually doesn't even come with basic cable. I think sometimes you have to get like higher tier cable packages just to get Sci-Fi.
I think people are just like they weren't in tune with it, but I think with Amazon they could make it work in this bigger universe, because they renewed The Boys for season 3. Who knows when we'll get that at this point? Maybe not. Maybe I don't think it'll be a year after for that. So it sounds fun. It sounds like a good time. On that note, also the character Peacemaker, played by John Cena in the upcoming The Suicide Squad, is getting his own spin-off series from James Gunn as well.
That was the last thing I was expecting. That was some pretty wild news to see the last week.
Yeah, so apparently James Gunn says, during the quarantine and Hollywood's kind of being shut down, he's had more time to work on stuff. So he was able to write the show based on this character Peacemaker, which the show will include other Task Force X members, he said, but it does not interfere with his Guardians 3 schedule to film it and make it. So I don't think he may not direct it. He may not be on set doing all the show, but he has written it at least and turned it in to be on HBO.
Yeah, this feels a lot like one of those shows that, is, obviously it's written by James Gunn, but I could see him maybe directing episode 1 and then giving directing opportunities to people that he wants to elevate for the other seasons. So if I'm just looking at Peacemaker just by itself, not looking at anything else in the world of HBO Max or DC, I would say this probably has a really good chance. If James Gunn really just sat down in his free time and thought this would be really, really good, I trust James Gunn's approach to the character and the comic books in general. So I'm looking forward to this, and I'm sure he has a good sense of whether this could stand on its own, and I'm sure it was a very easy pitch. I mean, John Cena, he's a star, he's definitely elevated past wrestling. I think he still really likes wrestling and still does it actively. So he has a very broad career. So John Cena, that's an easy sell to HBO Max, especially on top of all the other stuff that HBO Max is greenlighting. But all the other stuff makes me a little bit more worried, because it kind of feels more like Warner Brothers and DC is kind of putting the cart before the horse. Like, I hope Robert Pattinson's Batman is good, and I hope that world is really, really good, but they've already greenlit 2 shows based on that universe, and we haven't even seen the movie yet. And I know Matt Reeves has done good stuff in the past, but we've seen things go wrong with Batman before. So since this is all like kind of James Gunn's world, I think we'll have I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah. Well, he also...
And also, I think there was a promo image that came out with it that said FAC, it's Peacemaker. That was my weird attempt to not swear on the podcast by putting an A instead of a U. But so it's like, oh, they're leaning into the goofy wackiness of like the James Gunn Suicide Squad world.
And also, the character Peacemaker is a guy who's like he strives to achieve peace by all means necessary, including murder. So he's a very interesting character to put in there. It's like a very violent Captain America, if you will. So I mean, this is HBO Max. I mean, I think they're leaning into these shows that tie into the movies. No, he also did not say if this was a prequel or a postquel, if you will, of the movie. So
postquel.
Yeah, it's a prequel or a postquel. That's what it is. It's not necessarily a sequel. So they won't tell you. He won't tell us where it is, so as not to ruin the film. So we'll see. I'm guessing prequel. What do you think?
You never know. I mean, if he obviously dies in the Suicide Squad movie, that's all we have left.
and there's no episode count order, I think, as well. So if they did like 4 episodes and released it before the Suicide Squad came out next year, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. So. Who knows? It could be a one shot. Maybe John Cena gets cast in a Marvel movie and he's got other stuff to do. You never know what he could be doing.
Yeah. He's killing Bumblebee. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. But on the other side of things that get like a 4-part series is Justice League, the Zack Snyder version that he's working on. We don't have a title yet. I don't know what to call it, so I'm just going to keep calling it Justice League until we get the title. But the budget is said to increase to $70 million from HBO Max following the reshoots news here.
We knew it was going to happen. Yeah. When that news broke earlier this year, they were just like, oh, no. This is just Snyder's cut. He's just going back into the hard drive. He's going to put some stuff together. Maybe he'll bring somebody into the studio, maybe to just capture their face. Like, no. This movie sounds like it's going to be back in production, at least for a couple of weeks. I mean, like, this just really leans back into this never existed. The Snyder cut did not exist.
Yeah.
He has to put money into it to make it real.
So they have confirmed that 3 actors are coming back for less than a week's worth of work. Henry Cavill, Ben Affleck, and Gal Gadot will return for October. So we've got Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman coming back. Now, Ray Fisher's involvement is in doubt with this. He's currently going to war with Warner Brothers. So is Jason Momoa. I don't know what's happening with this. We don't know anything. I wish we had more solid information, but it sounds like, and then what's his name? The Flash guy. Ezra Miller is doing. They're currently filming Fantastic Beasts 3. So yeah, it sounds like I don't know what you do with those 3 characters in that movie that we already haven't done, but maybe they've got some green screen stuff to fill out some stuff. I don't know. There's a lot of questions here. What they're reshooting and what he doesn't have and what this will look like, but. Yeah, they've really turned foot on what they said they were going to do versus what they're actually doing.
Yeah, to me, this really just leans more and more credence to the fact that this probably isn't just going to be a single cut that you sit down and watch all at once. It seems like it's probably going to be a couple parts.
They've confirmed it's 4
parts.
They've confirmed it's 4.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The only thing they haven't confirmed if there is going to be one single cut.
No, there is.
You can sit down and watch.
It's 4 one a week for 4, and then the 5th one is the full. They did say that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I don't know. I mean, look at the news that we're reading right now. It seems like they're already kind of going back on a lot of the stuff that they said. I wonder if there's just like a producer just running around pulling their hair out that's just like, we agreed on this. What's happening? He keeps asking for more money. We don't want to anger the fans with that. We don't want to anger the hashtag fans. But, man, this is just crazy. I mean, all of the news around this is just nuts. I don't know, man. This is crazy. That's all I have to say.
Like you said, this only goes to show, again, there was no secret footage that he may have had it, but he has to do more with it, meaning he is taking feedback from the internet and creating this. This isn't what we were going to originally get. This is going to be a new version based on the internet's feedback.
And if he's getting feedback, he's in his bubble. We all know Zack Snyder is not going outside of the Snyder Cut bubble, so he's getting advice from probably the one place he should not be getting advice from. So we'll see how this goes.
So yeah, so there's that. Other terms of DC news, Black Adam is they cast actor Aldous Hodge, who you may not have heard of. He was in Straight Outta Compton as Carter Hall, Hawkman.
I've seen it. Let me do a quick Google so I can get his face.
Yeah.
Okay, he looks familiar. I don't know exactly what he's been in before.
He was in that show. You ever watched the show Leverage?
Oh, he was in Hidden Figures. He was in Die Hard with a Vengeance. I feel like that's where I know his face from, is from Die Hard. Actually,
I didn't get him from Die Hard. Wait, no, because that was his first role in '95.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome that he's gonna be Hawkman. Hawkman's an awesome character. The Hawk characters in general were always really, really cool to see on screen in the animated Justice League stuff. Mm-hmm. So I'm really looking forward to seeing a proper live action Hawk person. And
it sounds like this movie with The Rock and Black Adam is not one that's going to shy away from it either. Like, they're going to be like, yes, he obviously has a mace and he's wearing a large hawk helmet with wings.
Yeah.
So I
wonder if that leans towards the fact that maybe the Hawk people will be more alien in origin. Because if I remember right, I thought the Hawk people were originally more ancient gods, and then as the comic books had developed over time, they more became aliens. So are they leaning more towards aliens for the Hawk people?
DC resets itself, depending on which one it is. I think with the history of Black Adam coming from the Egyptian era, kind of being fun, I think he's going to be more historical than alien for this one.
Maybe a little bit of both. It's a historic alien planet.
Well, I mean, I think it's all on Earth, but yeah, he could be an alien that came back during that time to do that. Because the Hawk visage is kind of like, they did some of those, like, the Egyptian drawings have, like, you know, the beaks and the wings and stuff like that. So it can definitely do that. So they're casting for this. I think the only, like, there's the weather person, I forget what their name is, and Dr. Fate, right? Is it Dr. Fate?
Yeah, Dr. Fate.
Yeah, are the only people who need to be cast. So they're working their way towards that too, to get that filming. Get to Rock while he's not got the COVID-19, while he's healthy. Lastly, we're getting this Supergirl 6th season will be the last for the show, and expected to start filming that soon. So this is leading to two ideas, Mike. One is, does that mean they're going to make a Supergirl movie that they've been threatening us with really for several years, or is this because of the Superman show? They're just gonna only have one super family member.
I mean, if I'm remembering the news correctly from when this broke later last week, I think the show is ending because Melissa Benoist has decided to hang up the cape and to move on. But also at the same time, I mean, how long could it possibly keep going? I mean, what did Arrow go, 7, 8 seasons? I don't 100% remember when exactly that ended. But I mean, these Berlantiverse shows definitely have a shelf life, in my opinion. I feel like after, especially when you're doing like 20 episodes a season, I feel like with the budgets that you have, you just kind of run out of steam after a while, and you really the only people left watching are the really hard, fervent fans. So I mean, maybe that's enough for basic cable television. Like you can literally watch this TV show on a pair of antenna. So I don't know if that's enough, but it seems like a lot of this stuff is really kind of slowly moving over to HBO Max anyway. I'm actually really curious what the future is for the CW and these superhero shows in general, because it seems like AT&T, the corporate overlords over all of this, is just like, no, HBO Max, HBO Max, HBO Max for all of this stuff. That seems where all of the really fun innovation is happening. I mean, outside of Supergirl, I mean, what you have left is The Flash, who has been
it's actually longer. Really so that's the only reason I don't think that they have if they're gonna have a shelf life. Why does The Flash get another season before?
Well, I think it's because the Flash has always been their most popular show. So it seems like, as long as that's making money and as long as Grant Gustin still wants to be the Flash, they can keep making it. And if the other people want to dip out of the show, they'll just either recast or make new characters. And I'm sure they like the paycheck, especially during these uncertain times. But it seems like unless we hear new news from the Berlantiverse of greenlighting a show that's strictly just going to be CW, I feel like they're kind of wrapping up the Arrowverse over there on CW.
Nope, the Superman show is brand new this fall on there. It was greenlit, and it's greenlit and it's in production. I mean, I would only disagree with you because they had a chance. HBO Max has been announced and around enough that they could have pulled the plug on that or moved it to that.
Honestly, that one kind of seems borderline to me timeline wise. Like, you could be right, and I think I also could be right. I think you can interpret that one many ways, but really from my heart of hearts, I feel like that show just doesn't go on very long. I feel like that doesn't get that many seasons.
Batgirl, right, is the other one. When Ruby Rose left, they had an opportunity to just end it. Instead, they've recast and are rewriting the whole show based around a new actor.
Yeah, and if hopefully it works. If for some reason they can't get people to get back to the show after all of the,
I don't think anyone was on that show to begin with. Like that's the worst part. I think that had some of the worst ratings out of any of the CW shows. Black Lightning still going. How does Legend of Tomorrow keep going? That's my question.
Yeah, it just seems like the whole kind of continuity of the universe has kind of lost focus overall, especially, I mean, what do we literally always call it? The Arrowverse,
Yeah.
and Arrow's not even around anymore, and so it's just kind of like, what do you call it? And then they're going to be getting all of the fun, exciting stuff is all going to be over at HBO Max. I mean, come on, Green Lantern. We're begging to see the Green Lantern on the screen again. Last time we saw him was Ryan Reynolds. We want to see some sort of incarnation of him.
Yeah.
So people are begging for that new, fun, exciting stuff, with it's all going to be happening on the streaming service. So strategically wise, yeah, what do you do with antenna-based television is kind of what I'm saying. Like, do you put the reruns there? What exactly happens? I don't know. They could be, there's some fun stuff that could happen,
but
maybe they just reinvent themselves a little bit.
I think calling it antenna-based television is underselling the fact that most of these are on DVR or Hulu the next day, if you will. Mm-hmm. And that's where they still make tons of money. Like, literally tons of money. Like, we have a local... Here in Louisville, we have a local CW station, and these are their top performing shows on that network, believe it or not. And they are like all in. So I think CW would pay a lot to keep these quote unquote Berlanti-verse ones here that are like the lower, like the standard TV ones. Because I think I don't know when they can, like, we're going to be late for this season, right? Like, everything's going to be coming later because of the production restrictions. But I mean, some of these have got to go, some of these got to end. But I think Green Lantern is going to tie into the movie version of Green Lantern. I don't think it'll tie in any of these things. So this is a weird place, but Supergirl making it 6 seasons, I think it's going to be 7th season? 6th season, is kind of a miracle in and of itself, because it was CBS first, and then CW inherited it and was like, we'll run with it. So... I think you think we can both say, and I think you would agree with me, that possibly the golden age of CW-based superhero shows has probably passed. Uh-huh. Like, we've probably had it already. That's probably when, all of the crossovers were happening. We're probably not going to get anything quite to that level moving forward. Well, I think it is Batgirl and Superman are doing a crossover this fall, but I think the Flash is done, and they just haven't admitted defeat yet. How many times can you have someone who runs fast and you be the villain of your series? Yeah. Apparently the answer is 7 seasons.
And also, how many times am I willing to let myself scream at the television going, like, you can easily beat this metahuman, Barry. You are so fast, you can travel through time. Just run up to the dude and just punch him in the face before he uses his power. This is not difficult. Yeah. So there's only so many ways that they can creatively nerf Barry Allen,
And I think if they give him one more season and maybe another half, when the Flash movie comes out, they could cross it over with the movie and call it done.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I think because they did cross it over with the movie character later. The CW, I don't know how they're still getting numbers on some of these, but there are fans, and if you're strong, I mean, Supernatural lasted 10 years longer than I ever thought it would. So, CW's got its audience, man. It brings in some money. All right, well, that's our news for the week. Call it quits here. Mike, people know what you're up to. Where can they find you at?
Well, they can find me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram and Twitter, and you can read my webcomics at pickledcomics.com. Chris, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Valdan, Valdan, or Instagram, Valdan87. You go over to Comic UI. People want to know more about our show and listen to some episodes and go back and hear how wrong we were and how things have changed over almost 6 years. Where can they find that at?
Yes, all the historical context you could ever need is over at superheroslate.com. That's the best place to find all the avenues we host our show and to get our show notes. And more importantly, if you want to check out that 420 Dogface video, which I'm begging all of you to watch because it's great, you can find that in our show notes too. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you love to listen to find podcasts. Please like us on social media. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, and you can get merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. Please reach out if you want us to talk about anything specific that we've been missing. Is there any nerdy niches that you'd like us to uncover and look into? We'd love to check that stuff out. And if you want to be a super fan of this show, it's very easy to do. All you have to do, share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and more importantly, if you are in the United States of America, please vote. We are encroaching on a lot of voter registration deadlines, and the beginning of November will be here before you know it. So if you want to watch WandaVision at the end of November with a guilt-free conscience in America, you absolutely have to be a voter if you're over the age of 18. So please register and go vote. And that's all I have to say.
All right. Well, in that case, we'll see you guys next week.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.
Well, toast my cookies.
What? No.